Okay, this is going to be our last video. We're going to combine two databases in one search. That is, I'll do one in uh, Bloom's literature first, and then I'll move right into EBSCO, the literary database inside of EBSCO. So this is the example of post-colonial criticism. So we're dealing with parts of the world that were colonized by Western Europeans for the most part, and looking at it through the lens of perhaps people who lived in those areas and how life was for them, and looking at literature written by subjects of colonizers. I guess that's the easiest way to put it for me. Um, because that's what they were. They were treated as subjects, as yeah, who can. Um, Many of us will not understand that, um, but anyway, we're just going to use that as a lens to look at the book "Things Fall Apart" by Achebe. I don't know how to pronounce his first name. It looks like Chinois, but I'm not sure. Yeah. Anyway, so we're going to just do a simple search of "Things Fall Apart" on Bloom's here. And if you've noticed, I have quotes around that. That means I'm telling the database, the search engine inside of the database, that I want all of those words to appear together in any of the results that come up. And we'll see what we get. And the reason why I'm not typing in colonial criticism or post colonial criticism is because this database, while it focuses all on literature, and that gives us many opportunities for getting more results, more articles, like I mentioned before in our last couple of searches. However, this is by, like I said, I may have said it in the text of your lib guide, that Harold Bloom was quite prolific in his criticism, and he's very rooted in English and American criticism. So, in fact, I don't believe he may have included a lot of post-colonial um, sides in his publications. However, as a critic, as far as I've read, I haven't read a lot of his works in this area, but he clearly doesn't. Well, I don't know how clearly that is. He doesn't see things the way that people who come from these other parts of the world do. Um, So we're going to see some limitations, I think. So anyway, I'm just going to put "Things Fall Apart" all by itself instead of putting another term and trying to narrow it. I'm thinking there's not going to be a ton of articles, but there will be something. Okay, so this is what we have in reference. These are the articles that have appeared, and it's 42 total. So all of these begin with the title of the novel. And they mention other things like here's tradition, uh, heroism, um, individual and society, and so on. So these are all from, almost all of them, they're either from literary encyclopedias or encyclopedia of themes and literature, and so on. These are fine. Like I said, it just may be a narrow scope. Okay. Um, so I'm just looking at the types of sources, the names of the sources right now. Now here, this might be helpful. We might want to start on this. Again, we don't have the time to read these entire articles. We'll just kind of look for things. So this looks like another author, and where they might be, it looks like they might be comparing to Things Fall Apart. Yes. So here, this paragraph right here, in Things Fall Apart, and again, this is about, yeah, right. Okay. So anyway, it looks like we are comparing a couple of these post-colonial novels, and in this paragraph right here, it looks like it's the third one in. It says Achebe succinctly and memorably articulated the indigenous problematic. Does the white man understand our custom about the land? How can he, and when he does not even speak our tongue? But he says that our customs are bad, and our own brothers who have taken up his religion also say that our customs are bad. Okay, so this is an interesting paragraph, but again, I'm not quite sure how in depth we're going to get with this article. So, post colonial is meant to ask these difficult questions. Okay. And, it's just an introduction to what you can do with a, um, a literary criticism theory that is, I believe, relatively new. And in terms of literary criticism. So, anyway, we'll move on. Just want to show you some of the limitations that we have. And what the nice things are, we have articles like this where it, especially if it shows the author's name, they're going to talk about the author and what he does, how he writes. Let's check that out. So we'll get a little bit of biography on Achebe. It says here he went to parochial school. So he was probably in a village where they had Western missions, Western missionaries. And that's part of colonialism, definitely. So he was educated by Western people, yet I'm sure he was living a very different life, as you can imagine, under the colonial rule. So, um, anyway, it's good to see a background. So, that is helpful information. History will be very important when we're looking at post colonialism. Okay. I'm not sure if anybody in your class is doing this, but just wanted to cover that. Okay, I'm going to move on to EBSCO. I've already got it up and I've already entered my terms. And in this one, we could get a lot of things or we could get very few. I'm really thinking there might be a lot more. I can't really tell you why I think that. It's kind of a gut feeling. So, but this is again part of the stuff of I haven't done a lot of research on this criticism myself. I haven't read. I'm sorry to say a lot of texts from other areas of the world. But, it's an interesting thing when you're just researching something that you know very little about. So I'm hoping that this is something you can get out of this demonstration. Let's see what we get. Oh, wow. Okay, so there's over a couple hundred. So we have a lot more than what Bloom gave us. Okay, so you can see where the Bloom database was very narrow scope as it looked at post colonial criticism. But here, I guess there's just more opportunity. So we here have one called Writing and Cultural Influence. That looks like a good article to check that out. Post colonial Ursula Le Guin. Now, Ursula Le Guin, I believe, was uh, I know that name, that author, primarily as a science fiction writer. So that sounds interesting as well. Again, it just matters where you're going, what you're hoping to find in a database. So, since this is just giving you the basics and an introduction to the database here, um, you know, kind of showing you the pitfalls and how to the pitfalls or the surprises of what you might get. So some of it you just kind of have to think on when you find things and when you kind of need to. I'll keep that and look at it later, or I'm going to dump this and I'll try a different search. Okay. So, theory at the crossroads. This sounds interesting to me. So, this is a chapter from a book, and it's called Empire Writes Back. So, you guys are probably thinking what I'm thinking, that might have to do with Star Wars, which, that had to do with empires and one people ruling over others. Let's check that out. Social linguistics, post colonialism, language and culture. Okay. And we're talking about Indian writing, problems of contemporary criticism of Indian writing in English is considered. Okay. And we have a PDF of that. Again, I don't know exactly where to go. And of course, in this video, I can't actually read this to you. Just hopefully giving you an aspect of research and how it is a process. So you always have to have plenty of time to explore, and exploring things that may not go where you think they will, and you may not end up using them. That's just the way it is with research. So, um, a lot of this is really about exposing you guys to research and the process of it. So, I think I'm going to end this now. I want to go back to the results list first. So, there's just a lot. There's a lot here. Um, Let me do one last thing. I'm not going to end this. Sorry, this is going to be a long video, guys. All right. Let's go ahead and just add Achebe into this. And if you noticed, I went to the advanced search right here. That's where we're at. Okay, so we'll try this and see what we get. Yeah. Okay, so it went very narrow, but these are going to be more what we're looking for. So Joseph Conrad wrote about um, colonial areas and as well. But from the context of a person, a Western European person, or actually, I believe he was an Eastern European person. I believe he was from Poland. At least I thought I read that about him. Anyway, but you can see how we narrowed things down. Okay. So I would actually start with this one just based on its title, Half a Century of Reading Achebe's Things Fall Apart. So where it looks like they're going to explore the different reception of Achebe's novel at different eras, what people thought of his book. Okay, so we're going to end it here.